Before we go any further, I want you to do something unusual. Think about the last 7 days with your baby. Not the photos, not the milestone app. Think about the moments nobody records. The way your baby searched for your face before calming down. The way their body softened when you picked them up. The way they stared at a hand as if it had just been invented. Those moments look small. They are not small. They are the market signals beneath the headlines. And if you keep watching only the headlines, you will misunderstand the entire first year. Because most parents are taught to track development like quarterly earnings. Did they smile yet? Roll yet? Sit yet? Crawl yet? Walk yet? And the moment a number looks late, panic moves in. You open charts. You search forums. You compare your baby to another baby you barely know. What feels like responsible parenting quietly turns into surveillance. But here is the uncomfortable truth. The milestone you can see is usually the last thing to happen, not the first. What matters most in the first year is almost always invisible at first. Regulation, sensory integration, trust, repetition. Hundreds of tiny neural bets placed day after day, long before any visible skill breaks the surface. So this video is not about how to make your baby develop faster. It is about something more useful. How to stop reading the wrong indicators. How to understand what is actually compounding beneath the surface. And how to support development with the kind of calm, strategic clarity most parents never get. Stay with me, because once you see the first year the right way, anxiety begins to lose its grip. And by the end, you will know the difference between normal variation, genuine concern, and the kind of noise that steals joy from intelligent parents. Here is the first principle. Development is not a race. It is a sequence. In finance, sophisticated people know that timing without structure means nothing. A fast gain built on a weak foundation usually collapses. Human development works the same way. Your baby's brain is not trying to impress anyone. It is building architecture. During the first year, the brain grows at an astonishing pace. A baby's brain starts at about a quarter of adult size and doubles in size in the first year. Responsive back and forth interaction helps strengthen neural connections that support communication and social development. That means the first year is not mainly about performance. It is about wiring. Not output, but infrastructure. And that wiring is shaped less by gadgets than by relationship, touch, voice, eye contact, rhythm, predictability. When your baby cries, coos, stares, startles, or smiles, and you answer, you are not just comforting them. You are participating in what developmental science calls a back-and-forth exchange. That is how the brain expects to grow. Now step back and look at the system. In the first year, three forces drive almost everything: regulation, movement, and communication. Most parents watch the third one because it is the easiest to see. But communication rests on movement, and movement rests on regulation. If the lower layers are developing, the upper layers usually follow. Start with regulation. In the beginning, your baby is not trying to achieve goals. They are trying to adapt to existence. A newborn has gone from darkness, warmth, and constant containment into light, noise, hunger, cold, gravity, and separation. Their nervous system is unfinished, so in the first weeks, closeness is not indulgence, it is regulation outsourced. Skin to skin, feeding on cue, being held, hearing your voice, falling asleep on your chest. These are not luxuries. They are biological support. That is why the first month can look unimpressive from the outside and still be massively productive on the inside. Vision is limited. Reflexes dominate. Sleep is fragmented. But under the surface, your baby is learning to regulate heartbeat, temperature, digestion, arousal, and stress. This is the base layer. Without it, everything above it becomes harder. There are also practical things worth knowing early. Supervised tummy time can begin very early in short sessions, even just a few minutes at a time, and it helps build the neck, shoulder, and arm strength that later supports sitting, crawling, and walking. If your baby seems to hate it, that does not mean it is failing. It usually means the dose needs to be smaller, gentler, and more frequent. Around 6 to 8 weeks, something extraordinary happens. Your baby smiles at you on purpose. Not a reflex, not random, a social smile. This matters more than many parents realize. It means your baby is beginning to recognize interaction as rewarding. They are not only being cared for, they are entering a relationship. Soon after, cooing begins. Then the rhythm of conversation starts. You make a sound, they make a sound. You answer. This is not cute decoration. This is the earliest template for dialogue, attention, and trust. By 2 to 3 months, the body joins the conversation. Head control improves. Hands begin to open more. Your baby may stare at their own fingers as if they are studying a new financial instrument. That is not a joke. It is analysis. They are discovering agency, cause and effect. This hand moves when I intend it to. This face reacts when I vocalize. This world can be influenced. And this is where comparison begins to damage parents. Because another baby may look further ahead in one visible category, while your baby is quietly building capacity in another. One baby may roll early. Another may engage more deeply face to face. One may be highly physical. Another may be highly observant. Smart parents get trapped when they mistake variation for warning. At 4 months, many babies start rolling, reaching more deliberately, and laughing for real. That laugh feels like joy, and it is. But it is also evidence of neurological integration. The world is becoming more coherent. Vision is better. Hands are more useful. Patterns are being recognized. The mouth becomes a laboratory. Everything goes there because the mouth is one of the most information-rich sensory tools your baby has. At 5 and 6 months, parents often become obsessed with sitting. But sitting is not where sitting begins. It begins in the weeks and months before, when the baby tolerates tummy time a little longer, pushes through the shoulders, activates the core, shifts weight, reaches across midline, and learns not to fall apart when balance changes. The visible milestone is the dividend. The underlying work is the investment. This is one of the most important mindset shifts in the entire first year. Stop asking only, "Can my baby do it?" Ask, what capacities are being built underneath it? Because professionals do not just watch whether a baby can sit. They watch how the baby organizes their body to get there. Quality reveals more than timing. Around 6 months, play becomes far more interactive. Objects pass from one hand to the other. Babbling gets richer. Consonant sounds may begin. Solids often enter the picture, which adds a whole new layer of sensory learning. Texture, taste, mess, curiosity, preference, frustration. This is not just feeding. It is exploration with consequences. Now let's address a myth that creates unnecessary fear. Not every baby needs to crawl in the same way, and there is no good scientific evidence behind the old claim that skipping crawling automatically predicts later reading or learning problems. Some babies crawl traditionally, some army crawl, some scoot, some roll, some move straight toward pulling up and cruising. Mobility matters. Problem-solving matters. The exact style is less important than whether progress continues. By 7 to 9 months, the emotional stakes rise for parents because separation anxiety often shows up. Many adults misread this as regression. It is not regression. It is a cognitive upgrade. Your baby now understands that you and they are separate people. They know you can leave. And because you matter, that fact is destabilizing. Exhausting, yes, but also intelligent. The child who protests your exit is revealing a more advanced model of reality than the newborn who did not yet understand absence. This is also when imitation begins to become powerful. Waving, clapping, copying sounds, watching where you point, turning to their name. These are not party tricks. They are markers of shared attention. And shared attention is one of the strongest foundations for language. Long before first words, babies are learning that other minds can be followed. At 9 to 12 months, movement and cognition start to look almost inseparable. Pulling to stand, cruising along furniture, lowering down with varying degrees of dignity, opening cabinets, dropping objects just to watch you retrieve them, repeating experiments that seem irrational but are actually very expensive in brain-building terms. Your baby is learning physics, anticipation, sequencing, and consequences. The pincer grasp begins to emerge. Thumb and forefinger start doing precise work. This tiny action represents months of refinement. A whole chain of stability had to come before dexterity. That is the pattern of the first year, over and over again. Large systems first, precision later, base layer first, expression later. And then we arrive at the milestone parents romanticize most: walking. Many babies take first steps near their first birthday. Some do it earlier, some later. A normal range can extend well beyond the birthday itself. So if your child is not walking at 12 months, that fact alone is not a verdict. What matters more is whether there is forward movement in the system. Are they trying to get places, pulling up, bearing weight, exploring, communicating? Progress matters more than theatrical timing. This is the framework that protects parents from misinformation. Milestones are not deadlines, they are ranges. And averages are useful only if you remember what averages hide: variation, temperament, context, opportunity, energy. A chart can tell you what many babies do. It cannot tell you who your baby is. So what actually predicts healthier development in the first year? Not premium toys, not overstimulation, not turning your living room into an enrichment startup. The strongest drivers are more ordinary and more powerful. Responsive interaction, freedom to move, and emotional safety. Responsive interaction means your baby's signals lead somewhere. They cry and someone comes. They coo and someone answers. They point and someone notices. This teaches a foundational lesson. My actions matter. In the language of markets, this is feedback quality. In the language of development, it becomes trust, communication, and social learning. Freedom to move matters because babies learn with their bodies before they learn with concepts. The floor is not empty space. It is a laboratory. Every roll, pivot, reach, and failed attempt is data collection. Containers like swings, seats, and bouncers can be useful in small doses. But if they dominate the day, they reduce the very trial and error learning the brain is trying to run. Emotional safety may be the most underestimated variable of all. A baby who feels reasonably safe explores more, and exploration is the engine of learning. Chronic stress narrows attention. Calm expands it. This does not mean your home must be perfect or quiet. It means your baby benefits from enough predictability, enough repair, and enough responsive presence that the nervous system does not live in defense mode. Now let's talk about red flags without turning the conversation into panic. The issue is usually not late. The issue is absent or stalled. No response to loud sounds. No social engagement. No attempt to reach, move, or interact. No back and forth communication. Loss of skills that were already present. These are the moments to speak with your pediatrician. Not because concern equals disaster, but because early information is valuable and early support works. That distinction matters. Intelligent parents often delay asking for help because they interpret questions as failure. It is the opposite. In every serious field, good operators investigate signals early. Pediatrics is no different. Let's also deal with overstimulation, because modern parenting often confuses activity with value. Babies do not need constant entertainment. They need cycles, engagement and rest, novelty and recovery. If your baby turns away, stiffens, arches, fusses, or stops responding, that may be a stress signal, not stubbornness. The nervous system is saying, enough input for now. Respecting that limit helps build regulation. Ignoring it can turn stimulation into noise. The same principle applies to language. Parents ask how to teach a baby to talk, but language does not begin with teaching in the formal sense. It begins with narration, rhythm, eye contact, imitation, and pause. Talk during diaper changes. Describe what they see. Answer their sounds as if they mean something, because eventually they will. Read simple books with repetition. Use everyday language, not performance language. What grows language is not complexity. It is connection plus repetition. And yes, let's talk about toys. For the first year, simpler is often better. Something to hold, mouth, shake, drop, rotate, transfer, or inspect. Expensive toys often do too much, leaving less for the baby to figure out. Simple objects invite experimentation. Experimentation builds competence. Competence builds confidence. There is another shift most parents need around the middle of the first year. This is the point where information overload starts to replace intuition. You hear one expert say your baby should already be doing something. Another tells you not to worry. Social media shows a 10-month-old reading balance sheets and walking to Pilates. Suddenly, normal development feels like underperformance. This is where you need a more sophisticated lens. Signal versus noise. The visible milestone is often noisy. The deeper question is whether the underlying capacities are compounding. Is your baby more regulated than a month ago? More curious? More mobile in some form? More engaged? More capable of shared attention? More intentional with the body? Those are stronger indicators than a single headline moment. And before we finish, I want to pause here for something important. If this way of thinking is helping you feel calmer and clearer, subscribe to the channel. Not for vanity metrics, for signal. Because we make these videos for people who want to parent with more depth and less panic. And share this video with one person who genuinely matters to you. Your partner, your sister, your closest friend. Someone with whom you want to build better relationships with children, not just better routines. Calm is contagious. so is clarity. Now, the final piece. At some point in the first year, the real development challenge stops being your baby's development and becomes your relationship to uncertainty. That is the part nobody warns you about. You expect to care for a growing child. You do not expect to renegotiate your own nervous system in the process. Your patience, your fear, your need for control, your ability to trust a process you cannot speed up. But that may be the deepest lesson of the first year. You are not the manager of milestones. You are the architect of conditions. You do not force sitting, crawling, language, or walking into existence. You create the environment in which they are most likely to emerge. Responsive care, room to move, emotional steadiness, repetition, repair, and time. In investing, the most powerful gains often come from inputs that look unimpressive in the moment and extraordinary in retrospect. Parenting in the first year works the same way. Holding your baby when they are overwhelmed, answering a coo, getting on the floor, repeating the same book, letting them struggle for a second before helping, naming what they feel, returning after a separation. None of these moments look dramatic, but they compound. Years from now, the returns will not show up as a memory of one perfect month. They will show up as a child who explores, recovers, connects, persists, and trusts. A child whose development was not rushed, but supported. Not optimized like a machine, but strengthened like a living system. So no, your baby is not behind because another baby did something earlier. And you are not failing because development refuses to perform on command. Most of the time, the problem is simpler than that. You are just looking at the wrong signals. The first year is not a checklist. It is foundation, built in ordinary moments, in feeding, holding, watching, answering, waiting, repeating, and beginning again. That is the work. Quiet, unphotogenic, repetitive, and high value. If you understand that, you stop asking, "Am I doing enough?" in the panicked sense. You start asking a better question. Am I protecting the conditions that healthy development needs? And if the answer is mostly yes, not perfectly, not every day, but steadily, then in the ways that matter most, you are already doing far better than you think.